Well, we won a Conquest planet this week with over 149 million Conquest points. Along the way, we learned a thing or two about Conquest at the extremes. We'll bring on our Conquest leader, BC, to talk about that and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars: The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 370. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
What a week we had this past week. And I'm so glad we have BC here with us today because it's going to be really interesting to talk about. But yet, like you said, we did a lot of Conquest this week, and I personally did a lot of Conquest. And we'll get into that more, but I am sort of proud to say that I did it doing activities that I like to do, in spite of a lot of pressure.
Yep.
To do GSF and PvP and other things, but it was a cool week, but I'm glad we're resting now. And so that's we'll talk more about that, but that was my week.
Excellent. And also with us, as we said, is Brendan Kavanagh, BC, one of our officers in AIE, a returning guest of the show, who you may have heard from previous episodes where we've talked a lot about Conquest. He's got a spreadsheet that's been out there and been used in past Conquest calculations. And he is our Conquest director for the guild, puts the plan together, decides what we're going to invade. So it's great to have you back on, BC. How you doing, and what have you been up to this week as well? Well, we know what you've been up to, but yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Max and Seema. I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yes.
And I had the most fun that I've had playing SWTOR for a really long time. I played a variety of content, ops, flashpoints, dailies, rampage, leveling for the first time in a long time, crafting. I coordinated different guild activities, channeled all of the energy in Discord towards conquering a planet. It was a huge adrenaline rush. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. You did come, you saw, you conquered. And now I get why, as you were creating more characters later in the week, they were all named Vinny Vidi V something. And now I get it. We certainly did conquer. And I played quite a bit of all the possible things, almost everything. I didn't get to, in fact, I had planned on even trying to do like the weekly for Flashpoints and the weekly for Uprisings. I did not do those two. I did do Operations and World Bosses and Rampage and PvP. I did the PvP weekly on at least one character and then some PvP matches on another character. I did tons of GSF, tons and tons of GSF. So we'll talk about that some and how that worked out and why that was interesting. But it just filled up the whole week. I'll break it down. We've got a bunch of statistics about how much we did and what we did. It's certainly we really learned things along the way. I did Conquest in a much different way than I had ever in the past, and it was really eye-opening. We also then learned more about what the big Conquest guilds are doing and how they get those points. The reason we had to do this was we went against a planet that ended up also being invaded by a big guild that was inviting lots. It seemed, we don't know exactly what they were doing, but they always had a ton of people online. So maybe you imagine 40 people online, all just leveling low-level characters. So they weren't like doing things. I feel like they were one of those kinds of guilds that maybe were just inviting people off the planet. But regardless, they gave us someone that was nipping at our heels all week and pushed us and pushed us and pushed us, which forced us to learn these techniques, which is what we'll talk to you about this week. But before that, we'll talk to you a little bit about the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first up in the news, we do watch the bug tracker pretty consistently. Both Jackie focusing on what's going on in the forums and speaking to the stuff in the forums in particular, and then Natha, who's focusing on the bugs in particular and replying to those. Nothing too crazy this week. There was, in fact, I don't know why people do this. Like a single person posts in a thread and says, hey, I was doing master mode uprisings and boy, it all seems really broken. you're gonna reply, BioWare. Why aren't you replying? It's like there's not just like 5 people that play this game. There's tens of thousands of people. So Jackie did reply though. She said, "Nope, it's not. Not. I checked into it. There's not the claim was, or the 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 guess was, oh, are you changing the difficulty of uprisings while the game is live? Did you slip in? Are you tweaking the mechanics of the game while the game is live without patching it?" And Jackie double checked it. Nope, never done that. We don't do that. We have not done that. Changing things like uprising difficulties or flashpoint difficulties. But I thought it was interesting that people sort of demand a response. They were pretty nice about it though. They did reply back and forth and tried to explain what they were going after. They weren't rude. I will say that, because we have seen some rudeness in the forums lately, but this was not one. More interesting things though. What did you find, Seema, that went on this week?
So there, our game update 6.2.1 is going to bring changes to the amplifier interface. And basically it's going to bring out like a slide out window, like a tree structure, so that you can see all the possibilities for that amplifier. And then they're also introducing something that they're calling it quality locking or something like that, where you can say, I want to only roll the highest type of amplifier. So like,
Yeah,
they're changing the colors a little bit. So it used to be green, blue, purple, gold. They added white at the bottom. And I think the idea was just to make it a little more clear that the whites, those two at the bottom are the lowest, like they're the lowest tier. So it's white, green, blue, purple, and then gold at the top. So you can actually set, when you recalibrate your amplifiers, you can leave it open and you'll still have, through RNG, get a chance to get a legendary, or you could lock it to legendary and pay many more credits and then hit recalibrate.
many more.
It's a lot more. Right.
And I guess this is probably locked at this point. What they're showing is the quality lock took an augment or amplifier reroll for 20,000 credits was the regular roll, and clicking legendary lock bumped it up to 420,000 credits for a roll, 434,000. And it's still, every time you roll, it increases in cost, even at the legendary level there, of course. And
but it doesn't show that, which is kind of misleading, because it's a GIF, so it's just going the same one over and over again. But I wanted to see the next number, but it doesn't show that.
How much it's increasing,
By the way, yes, I said GIF.
That's crazy. I don't understand what you're saying. Never heard of that before. That's what you spread on your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right?
Right.
Then the one other thing that they did say, which was nice, is sort of the third part of this update, which was which I liked, was weekly cost reset. So yes, these amplifiers are getting super, super expensive. If you roll, 20 times, it's going to be up to like $1 million per roll or whatever. If you wait a week, it'll go back to 400K or whatever it is, which still isn't great, but at least you're not going to waste a piece, because that's what we do now. Is if the price gets too high on a component that I'm rolling an amplifier on, I just throw that piece away, and I re-get that component or piece or gear piece or shell or whatever I'm looking for, and then re-roll it from there. Also in the news then, just to be clear, sort of in the news somewhere out there on Twitter, and not in the forums, not in the dev tracker. Mini rant there on the side. You just heard, that's as far as I'll go. But 6.2.1 is confirmed for February 16th. So that's Tuesday next in 5 days, as you're hearing us now. If you're listening to us live or whenever you hear this, it's coming soon. It's going to be here. That includes the end of the PvP season. It also includes the updates that were on the PTS. In the tweet, they say it will cover the end of ranked PvP season 13 Amplifier and uprising changes. So remember, uprisings are getting retuned, and more, quote unquote, more. So we'll see. We'll see what the more is. I would love a little bit of a content drop. Quick pause. Can you set the gain? The reverb gain is something. Is the audio not coming through right in the old? How's the audio sound to everybody in the chat room? They did not say s'more and s'more. That would be great. That there is an emote where you can cook over a little campfire. It looks like you're cooking s'mores. So maybe that. And Apollos, thank you in the chat room, says we're good with the audio. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. All right. Guild and community news. Seema, how are we doing there?
Well, wow, we're moving along here. So basically, we're just want to make a note of our normal stuff, which we have Mega once a month, which is a special event that Marcus does. More info on the February version of that coming soon. We also do have 6 operations teams that are running on various nights of the week on both sides, some on imp side, some on pub side. And then on Fridays, we have a master mode flashpoint group that alternates with an achievement group week to week. So not sure which one it is this week, but pretty much if you show up on a Friday, there'll be people around to do flashpoint or to do achievements. And the achievements are the kind of ones like when you're on Belsavis, you need to kill, I don't know, whatever it is, 100 million people of the other faction. They're trying to attack those types of achievements as a group.
Got it. Last week was crazy. We had large group activities going on almost every night. This week we'll get back to a little bit of our regularly scheduled programming, which will be nice. So that is great. Shout out to the chat room. As you just saw, if it'll probably get edited out of the audio version, but I love having a whole crew there that can make sure that the audio is sounding okay and everybody can hear us and everything's going good, and answer questions and drop notes in for us. Make sure we don't forget anything. Thank you all for being there. A bunch of the usual suspects and new people in the chat room. Oh, that's so Force Chuckle. So I'm here. I'm freaking out about the audio because Force Chuckle was asking about the reverb and the gain. No, he's talking about the amplifier.
He's making amplifiers humor.
My amplifiers go to 11. Let me just say that they go to 11. Thank you, Force Chuckle. I get it now. Boy, that was a little bit of mountain time humor. That's what we say in Central Time. When you don't get the joke right away, you didn't get it until that's mountain time humor. The segment.
Wield your prosperity as a weapon.
I picked that drop in because there is a little bit of wielding your prosperity as a weapon in Conquest, and we can talk about that and how that will be changing as early as Tuesday. But let's go over the numbers at a high level, and then we're going to go between BC and myself and Seema and talk about how we planned it out, what the guild event schedule looked like for the week, what each of us did individually, what we learned about Conquest and how we sort of evolved even over the course of the week. And BC has even done some research and looked into what some of the other big guilds, including the biggest guild on our server, Sanctuary, what they do and how they run, which is really great. They do it really well. I'm really impressed. And more, I kind of like, I don't begrudge anything they do, even though they could win all 3 planets every week alone. I like how they go about it. I like what they do. They're a positive force for the community. So our guild, we won the planet. We won Ziost. We'll talk about how we picked it and what we picked. But at the end, the results. Let's begin. Let's begin at the end. 149 million conquest points. In fact, I've got the picture here. Let me bring it up. Here's our final scoreboard. Yeah, this is us. 149 million conquest points for our guild.
I mean, I know we're going to go into this, but one of the things that's so fantastic about this for us is that we did not plan this to come out this way. This is what we rose to because we had to.
No, yeah, we planned on, 25 million,
Yeah.
30 million. We'll
Yeah.
push it if we have to. We have some superstars, and we'll talk about that we're definitely there to be the base and help us. But everyone had to really pull out all the stops to beat number 2 here, the Sith War Council, 136 million. And the Sith War Council was nipping at our heels every day and every night. And their schedule was a little bit off from ours. Their peak time seemed to be earlier in the day. So overnight and earlier in the day, they would catch up up until they were maybe only like 1 million or 1.5 million behind us. And then, for the rest of the day, then we would push and try to get enough margin so they wouldn't overtake us. BC, did they ever overtake us? I don't think they ever did.
No, the closest that they got was about 1.8 million.
Yeah. So, but they pushed us, and that was interesting. They pushed us along. It could have been any guild that we went up against could have given us a run for our money. We'll cover what the other planets looked like and the fact that we could have won like 2/3 of the planets out there. Well, we think, but all the guilds that were on those planets, they didn't have to put up 150 million like we did, and maybe they could have beat us without a problem. We had 373 characters. I have the screenshots of everybody. I did not break it down by like legacy or how many people were participating, because we had anywhere between people doing a couple characters contributing points up to, I don't know who probably had the most. We probably like a dozen characters is dozen, 15 characters potentially at the high end is where we were at. 348 characters made at least 50,000 points. One character at the very end of the list, sorting by conquest points, had 34 conquest points. I don't know how that's possible. How did they like log in to a planet, not get anything for logging in? Because often you get, points for logging in because you hit a renown rank or whatever. They must have like shot one mob and then close the game and got 34 points. We loved anyone who logged in. We had people coming out of the woodwork to support us. We had old players from our other divisions coming to help out. We had a couple officers that have played before, resurrect some characters. So people were really, really putting it down. And we didn't ask anyone to do any more than was fun for them. So between 34 and I think the top was over 5 million on a single character. And we'll talk about that in a second too. So let's move on to the planning. And as we kick that off, and then I'll go between BC and SEMA to talk a little bit about the planning. But I did want to do a shout out to Zen, another officer of ours. He's in Australia. It was his idea to bother to do this on the Republic side in particular. He loves the Republic side. We usually do the bigger things like this on the Imperial side. He's a big Republic player. So we were happy to say, all right, Zen, we'll give it a shot. Might be rough because people seem to have higher level characters and more of them on the Imperial side, but we'll give it a shot. So thumbs up to Zen for pushing us to do this on the Republic side. Once we had that in mind, that next Total Galactic War, we were going to go after it, then the planning started. And we didn't do a ton, but why don't you kick it off? And then SEMA, I know you were working with the officer team behind the scenes, sort of fill in the gaps there. How did the planning sort of work?
So what we started by doing was looking at what other guilds had done in the past, not just what they'd done as everyone started to invade, because that gave us a sense of how many points they could put up relative to how many points we could put up. So a couple of planets we ruled out because the guilds that had already invaded in past weeks had put up double the number of points that we had. And so we felt like no matter how many points we put up, it would always be a stretch and they could probably outpace us. And we also took a look at guilds that had the ability to shift resources between their factions. So there was one planet that actually looked on the surface to be a pretty good target, but their guild on the other side was already at 19 million, had a massive lead over everyone else. And so we thought, well, if they switch resources, there's no way we can keep up with them either. And so the key foundation of our whole plan was waiting to invade and seeing what other people were invading and looking at what guilds had invaded and trying to get a sense of where we thought there was as an opportunity. And that served us pretty well. We've conquered 4 planets now.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some advanced planning of the guild, how we were going to invade. We communicated that out to people just so that they were prepared for it, because people log in on Tuesday and they wonder, when you going to invade. You do get a bonus to the number of points that contribute to the guild total after the guild invades. However, as you're sort of hearing here, there's that strategy of trying to find the planet, especially when there are a large number of planets to choose from, to go after a planet that you have an optimal chance to win. If we picked the planet, if we just logged in and picked a planet, and Sanctuary decided to also pick that planet, not a chance. No way we could ever win that planet. Which isn't bad. Nothing against Sanctuary, but if we want a chance, we had to wait. We also told people to sort of get ready a little bit, didn't we, Seema? Just not to do anything weird or out of the ordinary, but
Yeah, we had a few people who did things like run CZ-198 but not turn it in, or run most of the black hole, the weekly for both of those in the weekly in the black hole, but not do the last bit because that auto completes, and then prepared to just do it the next week once Conquest started. That's one thing we did. We also did people. I did not do this because I'm not this smart, and by the time we started talking about it, I had already clicked on them. But some people had 1, 2, 3, or even a fourth of those Conquest tokens that are worth 50k Conquest points that you get from the login rewards, and they saved those and clicked on them that week.
yes,
Or didn't, right? Because by Monday night we were saying, save them for next time because we felt like we had a good margin Monday night.
we kind of were locked in. I hadn't planned on it specifically. I did hold back on clicking on my Conquest tokens. I did get up at 4:45 a.m.
On Tuesday.
on Tuesday.
Oh, you're the man.
It's in Discord. Oh, just because I happened to roll over and look at the clock, and it was 4:30. So I got up, popped the PC on, logged in, checked it out. We still had our lead. There was no way they were gonna do. I think there was like 12 minutes to go, and they would have had to do like 1,000,000 points a minute, and I knew that wasn't gonna happen. So I didn't click my tokens, and I went back to sleep. Zen was actually up because it was daytime in Australia. And he was the one who first congratulated the guild when the clock ticked over.
For me, I was just so stressed out throughout the week that on Monday night, when it became clear that it was going to work, I just crashed. And then I woke up whenever I woke up on Tuesday. I just had that much confidence on Monday night.
It was a long, long week. We'll get to what we did, but because I did a little bit of that prep too. During the week, and I think this is really the key that we're learning, is getting the guild together and getting a lot of guild activities and helping everyone in a fun way have fun doing it, but helping make Conquest happen as a guild event with lots and lots of characters is really key. So BC, what did especially you, what our main focus every week is the event that you help run and plan out on Tuesday nights every week, which is our mandatory fun night. So that was a showpiece for us that kicked off the week. What did the rest of the week turn into for us, even if we didn't plan that out as much ahead of time? It just sort of evolved.
Well, I mean, talk about how you picked what we were going to do on Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So we started out with Taboro's Courtyard because it's 20,000 points per person. So that's 320,000 points for doing 16-person Taboro's Courtyard for 5 minutes work. And then we did Lucky and Snowblind, which are 40k each. And then we rampaged because it's about 10k per planet. And it doesn't take very long to kill 75 things if you have a group of 16 or more people. So you can just rotate through the planets really quickly. So we put up millions of points just on that first night, just by doing that, having a group of 16 people coordinated, running through TC, War Bosses, Rampage.
That kind of guild activity where you've got a group together, no matter the number of players, and getting everyone a chance to even try some things out that they wouldn't normally be able to do, like go kill a world boss. You can't go in solo. Lucky, you can't solo Lucky yourself. So getting those kinds of things done as a group activity is a really good idea. And then doing things like Rampage that can get kind of grindy and boring, doing them as a group while you're all goofing off and chatting and talking about it, that tends to work well as well. So that was just Tuesday night. What did the rest of the week end up turning into for us then, BC?
So we ended up repeating that again on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Marcus was an instigator of that. Marcus in the chat started to get people together, and it turned out to be pretty easy for him and I, because people were really excited to join up. So we kept rotating through TC and Rampage every night, and then other people started organizing ad hoc flashpoints and uprisings. So the energy sort of built on itself, and there were just people running group activities all week.
Right. We still had our 5 or so operations teams that were running throughout the week as well. And what did we do, SEMA, for our Thursday night ops teams? We switched to Republic, didn't we? I forgot what we did.
Yes, we did switch to the pub side. And did we do Eternity? No, we did Group Finder.
I think we did two operations.
Oh, it was over 5 minutes ago.
We switched to Republic side. We're normally an Imperial side operations team. We said, well, we've all got alts, so it wasn't that big a stretch. And we switched to Republic side, and we turned our ops night then into an 8-player. Let's go get some points for the guild. Let's do group finder so we get a random operation. I think we then also, we killed a couple more things to just make sure that we were cranking in some more of the points. Getting your teams, getting everybody on board and everybody sort of contributing that way really helped as well. That's a great way to go about it. Flashpoints, uprisings, PvP, GSF, those all contribute. Helping players get that done makes a big difference. So that was sort of what our event shook out as. So that was sort of the event schedule for the week, which turned into more than we've ever done. What about individually? How did you go about what you did, SEMA, and how did it turn out for you?
So on top of an MFN and a couple of flashpoints and some other group activities, what I did mostly is I did my my run of weeklies, heroics, crafting a little bit, not on like a Zen level, definitely not on a Sakic level, but I did craft up all my materials that I had. And I also did something we were looking at the guild that was nipping at our heels, and it looked like they had a bunch of characters just playing SWTOR. They're like, some were level 5, some were level 35, some were level 75, but it's not like you would look at them online and see that they were all in an operation doing it over and over again or anything like that. It felt like they were just leveling.
They weren't grouped up on planet. I mean, they would have like 40 people on, and it would be probably on average So I mean, people in the single digits and like in the teens levels of characters. But nobody like, yeah, as you said, nobody in operations, nobody in PvP, nobody in GSF. You could see, and they no concentrations of players anywhere. I feel like we're not confirmed. We don't know for sure. I feel like they were one of those guilds that just invites a whole bunch of new players off the starter planets, and then just has like a whole bunch of people who are new and playing that week, and then they were getting a whole lot of points. But that did,
So
yeah. I mean, that clued us into like leveling up. Is that give you a
right.
lot of points?
So so on top of that stuff, I also created throughout the week. I didn't set out to do this, but I did create 4 new characters. And the one new character I made that got the highest level was ultimately over 1,000,000 conquest points just on that character.
Right.
Like my total that I did was last time I added up it was 5.7 million conquest points. Nothing like what the real, high conquest points people in the guild did. But that was across basically 17 characters,
Yeah.
which is all my characters on the pub site except for one, which is parked on a Datacron on Meksha. But I just left her there. But um, yeah, so leveling is a huge generator of conquest points. So
Huge.
that was a fun thing to know. So I ended up because I already have 40 characters, which I don't know why I have 40 characters. I had to delete characters to make new characters. So that's also inspired me that like in the coming weeks, I really have to go through my list of characters and go, you know what, I'm never going to play this one. Put all their, vendor everything they have and put the cash in the legacy bank and delete that character so that in the future, if I ever want to do this again, which was really fun, by the way, was playing the starter story from several characters, which I have not done in years, right? Yeah, so leveling was a big one. So that was my array. Like I didn't do any GSF and I didn't do any PvP. I know those are big point getters and they're easy to do with a new character. Like you can do GSF and PvP with a new character, with like a level 10 plus character. In fact, GSF I think you can do even before level 10, but
Right.
you don't get conquest points until level 10.
Right. Until level 10. And that was, I think that was the eye opener for a lot of us, was all of the points that you seemed to get just by leveling. And that seemed to be what we were up against, is a guild that could be putting up 35, 40 people online. I think at their peak, they seemed to have 2 guilds. There was Sith War Council and Jedi War Council who was invading Osis. They seemed to be able to, and they were sort of, I think they ended up coming in second on both planets. But it all seemed to be just a large number of characters online leveling up. So that was quite interesting. So you said 17. That's a huge number of characters to have just spread out and be doing points on. I didn't delete any characters. I did create characters also, and we'll get to that. But I did want to drop in before we forget the idea of creating characters during the Conquest week, adding them in and leveling them up. That will no longer work that way after 6.2.1. You will have to have had the character in the previous week, joined
Right.
the guild the previous week before they will count for Conquest.
Right.
So you will no longer be able to either invite a new character off a starter planet during the Conquest week and have them count, or create a character of your own during the Conquest week and have it
Right.
count.
Yeah, you need to do a little prep if you're going to use leveling.
Right.
And I mean, I did it on a lot of different characters, but it was a little bit on each character. But it was actually very freeing because in a normal Conquest week, I'm always thinking, oh, wait, I don't want to do this on this character. This character is about to hit 50K and I'm going to do it on a different character. And last week, it didn't matter to me. I was just like, points, 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 points. I don't care. I don't need to switch characters because I'm going to hit target anyway on all the characters. So
Yeah.
just go, 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 go.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no, just don't even worry about which character you're doing it on, which has kind of informed my way of doing it now. I'm sort of trying to release that being worried about which character I'm doing it on, because what if I hit target and or I've already hit target, or blah, 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 blah. Just play.
Let madness release you, Seema.
Right, right.
More madness. So that was 5.7 million from Seema. BC, what did you do this week? How did you lay it out? What did you plan on, and what did you learn along the way, just on your personal journey?
So I ended up getting about 7 million conquest points. My one toon made 3 million, which might sound like a lot, but that still wasn't enough to make the top 5 in our guild, because Sakic had 5 toons that were over 4 million.
Him alone.
And
Yep, I'll bring that up.
him, right.
Show it off.
And so I did a bunch of group activities that we talked about earlier. I also had a morning checklist, which was, of course, in a spreadsheet with checkboxes. And I would rotate quickly through a series of activities that would be enough to get me 74,000 points in about 3 minutes. So it would take me as long to log in and log out as it would to get 74,000 conquest points. So I would queue up an invasion force and 5 crew missions the night before. So then when I logged in, that was an immediate 21,000. Then I would open one room in my new all-run stronghold, which was 31k. Then I would handle low-level companion gifts to get them up an influence level, re-roll an amplifier, and lift up and put down the same deco 5 times, which is another 22,000. So that was a morning routine that I would quickly do before I started work. Then I did all the usual suspects that other people did: weeklies, coffee chapter 1, heroics. I also did a bunch of crafting of level 1 stims while I was on conference calls, which I probably shouldn't tell anyone that I work with. And I could get 100k per hour doing that. And that's another thing that won't be as viable after 6.2.1, because the way that it would work is you would craft the level 1 cell grafts, and then you would craft the stims, which make 4 at a time or 5 if you crit. And so you would be getting the craft 50 items ticking over constantly. And so with the nerfs that are coming in the next patch, that won't be nearly as lucrative. And then I also tried some things that I hadn't done in a while. Like Seema, I created 4 new toons and did some leveling, and found that I could get 300,000 points in about 2 hours, just from all the different things that you would do while leveling. Kahohu and I ran 3 Star Fortresses in 45 minutes and got 500,000 points, because there's so many objectives. So what I found was just, if you chain a lot of objectives together, you can really start to make a lot of points. So with the Star Fortress example, you run a Star Fortress heroic, and that's an objective. And then each planet had an objective. So you run on a different planet. You run on Alderaan, you run on Hoth, you run on Savis. And then when you run 3, that completes the weekly, which is another objective. And then you're killing Sky Troopers the whole time, which is another objective. And then you're making RXP from everything you kill, and that also gets you conquest points. And then you keep leveling up your renown rank, and that's an objective. And so all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, you have an extra 500,000 points. And you can do it with anything. So I know Max, for example, with GSF, you would fly like multiple different ships, right? Because there were multiple objectives.
Yes. And that's still the case this week. And that's the case most weeks. And I'll show you that in a second. And that was where I got a lot of my points. So here's our chart of the top characters. So BC was third, the third highest after Sakic. But yeah, these top 5 were all Sakic. Let's talk about Sakic for just a second. We'll take a break, and then I'll tell you what I did. So Sakic is a conquest crafting machine. He's designed
He's an expert.
Yeah, he's an expert in it. He's designed a plan that, I mean, he like weeks and weeks of preparation of gathering materials, buying some materials, but doing a lot of gathering, sending all of his companions, like 8 companions at level 50 influence across many, many characters, collecting all of the materials so that you could be crafting war supplies and invasion forces. And 4 out of these 5 characters that are here above, between 4 and 5 million conquest points, were done through crafting. That's interesting, but we have to come back to that in just a second. The other character, he just played that character and played it hard, did a lot of GSF, he said. I think that was the main thing he was doing there, and just played it throughout the week and cranked up over 4 million character points on that character. He's all legit, all very, very disciplined in how he goes about that, designed his play style around it, and was brilliant. He even held back a bit. He realized that we
Yeah.
were doing so good by the end of the week. He didn't need to blow all of his materials. He purposefully, though, laid this base down for us and was helping us to keep ahead all week. So you can see here, he did a solid chunk, and did like 20% of all of our, or 15% of all of our points for the entire guild just himself. But it's interesting. He did all of that, and he was happy to just blow all of those mats because, starting in 6.2.1, there's another change that's coming that's going to slightly tweak the repeatability of the crafting objectives. And you will no longer be able to, over and over and over in that way, unlimited crafting, craft your way to this many points. You'll still be able to get a lot of points for a normal player, but you won't be able to do Sakic points this way anymore. Is that good or bad? It's good because there was some bad behavior associated with it. Nothing that Sakic was doing. He's, completely legit. You can see and watch how he does it. But there were people that started doing things like scripting and botting, and they were doing a lot of game breaking, inappropriate ways of playing the game, for one. And for two, the design objective that BioWare tries to achieve is that they wouldn't be forcing you into doing something that's super grindy and not really playing the game. You could argue, and Sakic potentially would, that because he's created this machine and gets his own enjoyment out of logging all the characters in and out and gathering mats and sending all of his companions on missions, that's satisfying. But you could also see the argument from BioWare that just, if I have to just click on, one button, 10,000 times in a week just to send a character out and can keep having it crafting a thing over and over and over again, that's not that fun. And you're not doing the what you would want players to be doing. If you had a new player and you brought that new player into your Conquest guild and you said, this is the way to get this most points possible. You have to just log in all your characters, log them in and out all day, and click these buttons to gather materials. And then when the Conquest week comes up, you just click these buttons to craft over and over again. And that's how Conquest works. That's what you got to do. Those players will quit. You will get a very small percentage that get into the mechanics of it as much as Sakic does, that would get the enjoyment out of it. They would quit the game. So they wanted to balance it against the kinds of things that to incent the behavior that you would spread out your activities, which Sakic ended up doing some as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. That will potentially depress the points a little bit in future weeks for those big guilds that were using crafting as their base. But we'll learn here in just a bit that that's, again, not where majority of points are coming from in a good way. All right, so what did I do? I did 8.8 million points over 14 characters. I did 11 on my main account and 3 on a second account. My second account was the testing account. We've used it before, so I could see what the comparison was between preferred and a subscriber, and I'd flip back and forth. I had a couple characters in there that just like there's one that lives behind the force field on the fleet so that you can open it to get to the datacron, so we can have the guild events to do the fleet datacron. So I had a couple of those characters on there. I ended up deciding that GSF and leveling up characters through GSF in particular was the way I was going to grind out points. and I had changed this. I didn't think it was going to be that way, and here's my spreadsheet of my characters. I didn't think it was gonna be that way when I started the week. In fact, I did a couple of those things that Seema you mentioned, which was I had, I think, 3 characters that had completed CZ 198 but not turned in the quest. Two characters that had completed Oricon but not turned in the quest. You can only turn it in once a day to get the credit for it. It's a daily repeatable, but you can turn in that weekly once a day. So I had a bunch of characters that were primed. I had one character that had done like 5 out of 10 wins for the PvP weekly. I figured I was in good shape. I was in good shape to do my, to get my 1,000,000 points, and then realized this is the way you need to go after it. Got to get these characters to the leveling, and GSF is very, very lucrative in terms of additional bonus points. So not only are you getting a ton of points for leveling up, but I will show you the really some of the key objectives that made me go after them. They're right here. The first time you fly a gunship 5 times, you get 88,000 points. After that, every time you fly a gunship in a match, you still get another 6,000 points. You can fly all 4 ship types in a single match. You can do all of this at level 10, completely unlocked on a completely brand new account. You get all 4 ship types immediately as you hit level 1. You could start flying at level 1. I would wait till I was level 10. And you would get then the 320,000 after you flew 5 matches just from those 4 ship types. And then there was the weekly. Where's the weekly? The weekly is extreme. The weekly was like 250,000 points for doing the Starfighter weekly. You would get another like 12 or 15,000 just for winning a match. So lots and lots of points. And if you're level 10, you're also getting a ton of experience points. I ended up doing the weekly on 5 or 6, the Starfighter weekly on 5 or 6 characters throughout the week. My highest character was a character that didn't exist until Thursday, and that was the 1.5 million. It was all through GSF and leveling up. Those characters ended up about level 28 to 30 by the time I was done with the weekly and the amount of GSF that I was playing on them. So that was the core of mine. That's not to say I didn't also, I soloed the Star Fortress weekly. I did the PvP weekly. I did, operations and our rampages and all that kind of stuff too. I would say at least 2/3 of my 8 million points though came from GSF. So there's that.
I totally intended to do Star Fortress, but I got so taken up by the leveling thing. That's what I ended up doing.
I started it as a prep activity as well. I did not, for whatever reason, have any characters that had Star Fortresses unlocked on the Republic side. I went through and I did the story to unlock the Star Fortresses on the Republic side, and that did not give you credit for either. You need to do 6 story or 3 heroic, and then I soloed a heroic. And that gave me credit for 2, just to see what it was look like. Because somebody was saying, oh, it only takes like 5 or 10 minutes to go through the heroic. Maybe that's with a group. To solo the heroic Star Fortress is not 5 minutes. It took me like 35 minutes. But by that point, then I had 2 out of 6. So just in my spare time, as we were playing hours and hours and hours of this, just to break things up, I did the other Star Fortresses. I just repeated it 4 more times on story, and it is pretty. It's quite fast on story. It is like 8 or 10 minutes on story. And I was getting some of the decos, so that was cool. But yeah, little bit of crazy stuff and a little bit of that learning change that made us realize that the leveling up of characters is really interesting. I have never deleted a character. Maybe once or twice miscreated characters until this week after Conquest ended. What did I do? I deleted a couple of those characters that I created. I recreated them, leveled them up to level 10, and I now have 8 new characters, 4 on the Republic side and 4 on the Imperial side, that are all level 10, so that they'll be in the guild in case I need them, in case we need to go after Conquest for some reason. So they're there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
So,
because now you won't forget to do it the week before.
right. Now I won't forget to do it. I did this on work conference calls this week on the side. I created all 4 of those characters. I was pretty boring about it. They're Sage and Sork. They're Sages and Sorks and Commandos and Mercenaries, mirror classes, 4 and 4, and just put them all in there because I'm very comfortable with those. I can do them very quickly, and I can just get them in. I can get them done. I can do the leveling quickly. I did leave one of my characters that was brand new from last week, and pushed that character to get its class ship, because I had nothing on the preferred account that had a class ship, so it couldn't participate in the rampages. So I got a class ship on that character.
And Max, do they have themed names like Veni Vidi Vicky and Veni Vidi Victor?
No, they're all named Max, of course.
No, your names are the best, BC.
Veni Vidi Vader, Veni Vidi Vitiate. I was getting a kick out of those as they were getting added there, BC. No, all my characters are named Max, but now because I'm up to like 40, 50 characters now, it's starting to become like MHAAAX. You can't put 3 X's in a name. I realized that. So it was starting to be MAAXXXZZ. So, but you pronounce them all Max. So that's how it goes. You can put the apostrophe in weird places, but I have a lot of really long spellings of Max now. So that's what we kind of learned individually. What did we learn as a guild? And BC, why don't you run us through a little bit of what you discovered in your research and what you now know about what some of the other guilds do?
So I think one thing that jumped out at us immediately was that even though we had less than half the number of toons online as the guild that was nipping at our heels, we were still outpacing them all week. And a big part of that was that even though we were small, we were well organized. So we had activities every night where we were running operations and doing Rampage, and people were playing GSF. And so even though we weren't one of the guilds that had as many toons as possible, we were still able to conquer a planet. And that actually led me to research a little bit more about what some of the really large conquest guilds like Sanctuary on Starforge do. And what I found was it was really just a large version of what we were doing. We had a small group of, maybe there were 40 of us total, maybe it was even less than that, over the course of the whole week. They essentially just have more people, but we're doing all the same kinds of things. So they have a spreadsheet that Max would be proud of. It's color-coded, and they have activities every day, and it's the same kind of activities. They're doing operations and Rampage and uprisings, and they've got different people organizing them. So it was very similar to what we'd actually ended up doing, but just on a larger scale. And so you said at the top of the episode, Max, that actually we gained more of an appreciation for what guilds like Sanctuary do. I think it's great that they're really well organized. They have activities all week. No matter when you want to jump in, you can find people to do something. And then they put up hundreds of millions of points every week, and they conquer planets every week. And so I think that's fantastic that there's a place for people to go where that's available. And it was also validating to see that what we were doing was kind of on the right track, and that a small organized team could conquer a planet. The thing that I enjoyed most about it was just that when we had regular organized activities, it generated a lot of excitement. I mean, people were literally logging in at 3 and 4 a.m. on Monday because they were so excited and so invested in conquering a planet. So I was really interested to see that what we had ended up doing just over the course of the week is really what those large conquest guilds are doing in a really organized, large scale way.
Yeah. And through all of this, I started to get, as I learned more, especially about Sanctuary and the way Sanctuary is organizing this, started to learn more and more about how they're arranging things, how they're running things, how they're rallying people, helping them along, organizing group activities, and really doing it the real way, not gaming the system and forcing, being mean to their players and forcing people to to do whatever. That I'm getting more and more respect for how they run that and the kind of contribution that they're making to the server and the community in doing what they do. And I do not I don't discount their capability, and I don't begrudge them winning as much as they do. The other thing that
No,
I'm really
they put the work in.
yeah yeah they do. the the other thing I'm really impressed by, and you'll see this on every other week besides Total Galactic War. Check this out. So this week. This is the Large Yield Planet. They put both of their guilds, their Imperial and the Republic guild, both on one planet. So they could win all three planets every week on our server, and they don't. They choose specifically to do this. And you can see here, 181 million would blow away anything else. That's their second guild. That's their off guild this week. So Sanctuary and Dark Sanctuary, they put them both on one planet. I don't begrudge them winning a planet every single week. That's what they do. But they're leaving room for other guilds to then both fight against them, and other guilds will put up a good fight, and leaving some of these other planets available for guilds to fight it out. Which is cool. It's cool of them. I appreciate that. So it is, yeah. So Zen says in the chat room, Sanctuary cheats by enjoying the game and playing it a lot.
Right.
No, you're supposed to hate what you're doing. It is so it's great. It opened our eyes to sort of how things were working. They will change slightly next week. I think we've learned quite a bit, and I think we'd be well positioned to win a Total Galactic War again in the future. I think it would be interesting if Total Galactic War came around a little bit more often. I do not want Total Galactic War like every other week, because I think we would all get burnt out in AIE. Again, we were averaging I think on our biggest day we did have like 35 players on Monday night. But on the average days during the week, we were averaging like 15 players on the night. And even earlier in the day, we'd have like, 5 or 6 players on for the first half of the day. We're not putting 50, 60, 70 players on all day like some of the other guilds were. And I don't think we could sustain, I couldn't sustain putting up, millions and millions of points every week. It would burn me out. But a little more often, or a few more planets, or a little bit more once in a while, that would be interesting, and I would petition and promote and ask for that from BioWare. I would appreciate that. So we'll look to do that potentially again when Total Galactic War comes around. To finish, I did want to point out that this was a big deal for us. Everyone really came together and had just seemed to just have so much fun with it, and just the level of achievement every single day, seeing us lose a little ground and then claw it back and see where we're at in the morning, and everybody's chatting it up and talking, and tons of people. I mean, Monday night, since I haven't seen that many people online in AIE SWTOR to have like 35 people online at once since launch. So that was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I also want to say, I've been sort of wanting to say this, that one of the things that BC did that I think really helped the guild work together as a group, aside from I mean, obviously organizing MFN and taking part in all the other activities, is he would post in Discord throughout the day a few times where we were with it, how far, what our margin was, you know, but we're still on track. We can do this. And so everyone was doing their efforts from a position of being informed. We knew it was realistic and we knew we could do it.
Yep. It was great. Tuesday then, Tuesday night for MFN, we had a little bit of a celebration. We couldn't have everybody on, but everybody that was around, here's a couple pictures of us having our celebration on Ziost. I cannot get this planet has been conquered by Alea Iacta Est. I cannot get that tag. None of us can. We can't get it to come up on Ziost. Maybe it's because it's, we're on the burnt out Ziost and it would come up on the regular Ziost. I can't find it, and it's very disappointing, but we had a good time. So this was all of us on the planet on Tuesday night. Here is another view with a bunch of the name tags, just of this little celebration party we had. What did we do? We started on the guild ship. Here was all of us on the guild ship. We flew the guild ship. In fact, I've got a better picture of that somewhere. We flew the guild ship to Ziost. Took a picture of all of us with Ziost in the background. We got out. We walked around on the planet. We've had guildies donate interesting things to the guild in the past. We whipped out one of the big donations that someone donated to the guild in the past of a hyper crate. And this was a little gift that we gave to all of our guildies. If you contributed to if you're in AIE at all, make sure you're checking out the guild bank. We should have put another announcement in the guild already this week. I forgot to remind myself to do that. There's a ultimate cartel crate in the guild bank for you, courtesy of awesome donors that have donated this kind of stuff to us in the past. Go and grab it out of there. It's set so you can only withdraw one this week anyway. So go and grab one, sell it for 20 million credits, open it up, pull whatever you can out of there, do whatever you want. Thank you, AIE. You guys are awesome. I know we do it for fun, but there's a little present as well. All right. I'm taking a little bit of a breather. In fact, our ops team took a break tonight. We did do a couple master mode uprisings because I've been promising Thon that we would do that for I don't know, for like 3 years.
2 years. Yeah, 3 years, 2 years.
But I think everybody's taking a little bit of a deep breath. However, even with that deep breath, where are we at? We're at 10 million on a goal of 5 million conquest points this week already. And it's Thursday night. So maybe we're not slowing down. I was going to say everybody's taking a break and slowing down. Maybe not. Maybe that's just me. Although I've got a bunch of characters already to target as well. And I even flew another GSF match or two just for fun. Can you believe it? Crazy. Doing things for fun.
What a concept. Doing things for fun.
All right, let's go around, wrap it up. Any closing comments on Conquest, Seema?
Yeah, just a reminder that the next time we do this, I have to think a week in advance if I'm going to use leveling. Just reminding myself, week in advance. I'll forget.
We will put that, if we're going to go after a total galactic war, we've got BC and Zen who will be helping us plan this out. They will remind us, I'm sure. BC, how about you? Any closing comments on Conquest?
The fun is mandatory. We
Yes.
We had a blast last week. It was so much fun to see some people who hadn't played in a long time jumping back in, relearning the game because they wanted to be a part of it. All sorts of new folks who were conquering a planet for the first time, and people grouping up at all hours. Everyone's so excited in Discord. So thank you, everyone who was a part of it. It was a lot of fun. And like you, Max, I'd love to see this more regularly, but maybe just once a quarter.
Right.
Because it was a lot last week. So hopefully we'll see it a little more often. And it'll be fun when we do.
Amazing, good fun. I think the idea that doing it for fun, and we really push this with all of our players, only do what's fun. We did not ask anyone to do anything else besides what was fun for them. We had a couple people that said, "Hey, I just reinstalled the game. I started my account. What should I do?" Our answer was, do something fun. Have some fun with it. You can come along with us. You could level up a character, just get back into it and see some things. Only do it if it's fun. It was fun for us. We had a lot of good times, and I think we'll do it again sometime. All right, with that, our EPC 370 droid is ready to jump out an airlock and broadcast this brilliant news of our conquest win on Zyos to all of you out there in the galaxy. For podcast news, follow us on Twitter at Max the Gray. That's where I post when we're having the podcast, if we ever happen to move it. It's usually on Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Central. Anyway, though, if you know any cool people that should be playing with us, that's what we would like you to do for us. The only thing that we ask for as in terms of doing this podcast is if this sounds fun and you would like to come play, let's do it. Come join. You can find us on Starforge. I almost said Jedi Covenant. Starforge.
Wow.
On the Republic and Imperial sides. You can find our guild at aie-guild.org. You can find past episodes of the podcast on YouTube, on twitch.tv/New Overlords, on YouTube/New Overlords. Subscribing and following in those places helps out because then other people sort of see the podcast more often. It's also on iTunes and newoverlords.com for all the links. You can just download the MP3. We really want you to come check us out, though. And our guild Discord is at aie-guild.org in the upper right. Join us. We'd love to have you. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.